Hello, welcome to AI Wisdom. My name is Crispin. Imagine for a moment artificial intelligence became obviously threatening. Would humanity band together to meet this common danger? Well, there are things in popular culture that would indicate yes. If you think of movies like Independence Day, where there's an alien invasion, or Pacific Rim with kaiju coming out of the sea, or indeed Terminator with artificial intelligence seeking to take over the world, humans do come together and try to fight the common danger on behalf of the human race. We see that in The Matrix and countless other examples. However, the way AI is coming to us, it's not as an invasion force of androids coming from the sky, but being developed in labs by a small elite group in a handful of companies, OpenAI, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and the like, as well as foreign governments such as the Chinese Communist Party or the United Russia Party in Russia. And therefore, AI will initially be under the control of a small elite. And when it first shows signs of being risky, it will likely still be in that black box environment where the risk to the whole of humanity will not be realized to everyone equally at the same time. Moreover, there'll be concerns that the AI that they've created will be more useful in combating potential other AIs that other governments, other industries, and competitors have likewise created. In a sense, it will be seen as an asset in the struggle against the general threat of AI, with one group of humanity pitted against the other. And if we think of other examples in pop culture, we can begin to bear this out. If we think of the Roswell landings in New Mexico, the mythology around an alien landing, or at Area 51. The idea is that the US government conceals knowledge of alien visitation, alien landings, in order to gain advantage relative to other governments and competitors around the world. Now, for the record, I don't believe that any aliens have visited Earth, but you can see how if a super intelligence or super advanced technology got in the hands of a single politic, there would be quite an incentive not to share that information to others. And the fact that those other governments, other countries, other companies weren't receiving access to that would itself spur a sense of distrust and competition. And we can bring this down to an individual level. Imagine if you were given a lamp and inside it was a genie, and you could be given unlimited wishes. It's not restricted to 3, you can have as many as you want. Would you share that lamp with the rest of humanity and let everybody else have wishes as well, no matter how potentially destructive or dangerous it is for everybody else? Or would you seek to keep that power for yourself, believing that you will be impervious to anything damaging through the access of this power, that you are uniquely capable of resisting the temptations that come with that in such a manner as to harm the rest of the world? Well, there's only really been one proven case in all of world history. Arguably, it would be Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, the great Stoic emperor, who, despite having unlimited power, complete life and death power over the world population as it was known to the Romans, everything from Britain to Egypt, for 20 years of being emperor, he resisted constantly the temptations for excess, unlike any of his predecessors or successors. That would indicate that this is an exception, not a rule, that you or me or others were very likely to use this power in an abusive way, even if it was done with good intention. And Sam Altman, to his credit, someone I really like and think is considering these issues deeply, realizes the imbalance between a open source AI system and that which is controlled by a small number of people, because he gives examples where people will say, well, I should have access completely to this technology and all of its massive potential because I am impervious to any kind of bias or manipulation or misuse, but we definitely can't give it to the masses. This is a view that is held by governments and elites around the world. Now, there are governments that are interested in control for control's sake, the Chinese Communist Party being top of that list, but most governments seek to restrict things not out of belief that they are controlling things nefariously, but to stop others, individual actors, non-state actors, from gaining technology, gaining weapons, gaining things that could harm other people because they don't trust their own populace. This is where we get ideas of censorship and controlling so-called misinformation and dialogue online, the various censorship of algorithms and so forth, sometimes concealing truthful information, or at least information that is up for debate. And Sam Altman again gives, in his discussion with Lex Friedman, the example of the question of whether COVID came from a lab or not. Now, that is an open question. There's circumstantial evidence on multiple different theories, and that's exactly what GPT-4 says when asked the question, which is the right answer. Whereas not so long ago, social media companies, YouTube, other companies out there would censor you if you even alluded to that as a possibility. The reason that censorship occurred is not because governments in the West thought that was beyond the realms of all possibility, but rather that the populace could not be trusted to have this dialogue and operate responsibly with that discussion. And this condescending attitude from governments that the populations are unable to have adult discussions or debates or question things that are being handed to them from the official sources, that the very idea of challenging an official narrative from a government is itself harmful and therefore needs to be suppressed, is something that governments but also companies will engage in. So it's not just for profit. In fact, companies that purely pursue profit without any regard for the popular good is something that I personally trust more than companies that seek to be virtuous. And the reason is that companies that have a clear profit motive for why they do what they do are understandable. They can be anticipated. But when individuals within companies seek to use their corporate power to suppress the ideas and exchange and influence of the populace, not because of the profit that brings the company, but because the executives think that the ordinary person can't be trusted with that information, is itself dangerous. So when we have an AI system that becomes threatening, that becomes dangerous to the rest of humanity, these companies, these governments will seek to control it, not because they are fearful of the AI itself initially, although some individuals might be, but because they won't trust the populace to be engaged with this technology. Also, they definitely will not trust foreign governments to have access to this technology. And if you watch our video on the US-China arms race in artificial intelligence, that gives examples as to why. So the reason why we're not going to have humanity banding together to fight against potentially an AI, matrix system with Mr. Smith running around, is because humans are very far away from imagining themselves not being the dominant species, and that AI will perpetually be a tool, a servant for particular groups. If you ask even most American leaders, would you prefer an AI system that benefited all of humanity equally, or an AI system that gave America increased power relative to the rest of the world? Well, the temptation for that latter is going to be overwhelming for most decision makers. So there's a small window where AI innovators like Sam Altman and Ilya Sutskever can shape some of the dynamics of how AI relates to the rest of humanity. But for reasons that I will go into in another video, I don't think that control will be lasting. I think that very quickly, external pressures, political pressures, pressures from other AI systems, from foreign governments will become overwhelming. Now, I think that as far as you could possibly want, people like Sam Altman are thinking about these issues very well. And as he says in his interview with Lex Friedman, he thus far has been very good at resisting external pressure in how they handle this technology. But that is because of a very small window of factors, which I'll go into, as I say, another time, which cannot last. When that window closes, the proliferation of AI systems and government intervention is going to be so strong and so domineering that, far from bringing us together to think about the way AI will be managed, AI will be used by individual groups primarily to get advantage against others. And that is going to be a race to the bottom, unfortunately, exploiting human nature and the way our societies and national politics have existed to this point. Our evolution as a species has brought us to this point. Introducing AI into that system is only going to make that worse. That's my view, but there is one way in which I could be wrong, and that is we are able to foreshadow this risk. It is something that we know is coming down the pipeline, and we are proactively thinking about it before it arrives. It may allow us an opportunity, perhaps with the help of AI, to develop a strategy to avoid that outcome, so that we might use AI as a way of enhancing global cooperation rather than being used as a tool of increased competition and strife. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Do you agree with me that this is a prevalent risk, that if AI just develops naturally in multiple places simultaneously, and that AI becomes a competition among different groups and countries and companies, that this will accentuate, not reduce our social divisions? Or do you think that I'm overblowing this, that the fact that we will have a new intelligence, an intelligence that is far greater than our own, that will ultimately force humans to see that their differences are not so great and to push together as a collective and see the benefit that AI can bring to all of humanity if we work together? That would be a shift from the past, but AI is a shift from the past. So I'd love to hear your perspectives down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.